The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is Gerard with episode number 39 of Florida's Fresh Mix on the Florida Podcast Network. Wow, we're almost about to hit 40. That's crazy. A random mix of Florida's freshest personalities. Listen in, folks.
Hello, Fresh Mixers. Welcome back to Florida's Fresh Mix podcast. We're so glad you're here. And by we, I mean myself, Amber, the lead content producer, and your host, Gerard. Gerard, how's it going?
I'm here with you and doing what we both love to do so much, collaborating for hopefully a long time. So I'm good. How can I not be good, girl?
Of course. And especially because you're interviewing, you interviewed a friend of yours once again.
I'm liking this. I'm liking the interviews of people that I know, although not to take away from the interviews that I've learned so much from that we've done of people I didn't know, because I've made new friends. I've made new contacts. I've made so many amazing connections through all of these interviews. But it was such a pleasure to interview Omarie on this. So
this is a fascinating interview, people. You guys talked about a lot of different things, but let me just tell you about the guest. His name is Omarie Williams. He is the founder of Earovation LLC, which is an entertainment company. He's also a professional steel drum player. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty unique. We haven't had any steel drum players on our show before. So.
Nope, not that we know of. At least at the pro level, that's pretty cool. Anyways, Omarie and his group, known as Steel Band Delight, they play for different events, hotels, weddings, parties, you name it. But most notably, they performed at Superbowl 54 in Miami back in 2020, right before the world became what the world became. So you guys talked all about that and what it was like for him and his company to be invited by the NFL to work with the NFL. You guys talked business, strolled down memory lane, and mentioned the first time you guys met. So lots to cover in this one, Gerard.
I had very little planned before I did this interview for one of the first times, because I just knew it was just going to be organic and great. And we touched upon a bunch of personal and business topics. He's very multifaceted, as I mentioned in the interview. You guys will be a fly on the wall with two really good friends catching up. How's that?
Exactly, Gerard. No more spoilers. We'll let you guys hear the full conversation in just a second. Because first, Gerard, please tell the people about Guitars Over Guns organization.
Please go to the show notes, click the link, donate anything you can, whether it's $1 or $1 million. These kids are amazing musicians. They learn how to be in a band and how to sing, write music, rap. It's just such an all-around wonderful, wonderful charity. And I'm very proud to be on the board. And I very much look forward to raising as much money for this charity as I possibly can, because every single penny matters and it changes lives. I'm telling you, go and watch any of the videos of these kids playing music and it will warm your heart. I guarantee you. Make sure you hit the show notes and open your wallets and open your hearts. And that's all I got to say about that right now.
Okay, you heard the man. Check out the link in the show notes and donate what you can to a great cause.
Excellent.
All right, people, let's get into Gerard's conversation with his longtime friend, Omarie Williams.
Waka waka. Okay, so today, folks, I can't even, it's not like me to not be able to get the words out. I can barely speak because I don't even know how to introduce my next guest other than to say Omarie B. Williams is in his house. How's it going, brother?
Gerard, no one makes me feel better than you do.
Well, I hope that's not true, and I hope you don't have a girl.
Thanks for the intro, brother. I appreciate you so much, man.
No, that was not the intro. As a matter of fact, I usually, introduce my guests, with their bio and background, et cetera, et cetera. But this is the first time I'm going to do something a little different. You need to understand, Omarie is a friend of mine, and a friend is an understatement. I've known him for years, and I don't know how to properly introduce this guy because he's, the first thing that I think of when I think Omarie is a good soul. He's a good soul. And I also think about music through and through. That's what he embodies, music and musical genius. But he's so multifaceted, multi-talented, and so much more than that. This is the first time I'm going to let you describe yourself in a few words or sound bites. You tell me, who is Omarie Williams?
Well, I am a person that is continuously trying to add value to as many people on an everyday basis. That's my MO.
Okay.
And music just happens to be kind of the driving force behind all of it, in terms of my passion. But I've always had this thirst for education and learning and, just being able to see so many different facets of life, right? So as I continue on this journey and, working with people and being in relationships with business partners and things like that, it's always an amazing opportunity for me to just grow as an individual. And, we've spoken a lot over the years in terms of just, how do we get better each and every day? And that's how I live. To simplify.
That's exactly right. And, life is about growth, and you're definitely focused on that, and you always have been. I'm going to let you tell the people, how did we meet? And I've been trying to, if I took a guess about how long ago it was, I probably would be wrong. So I'm going to let you take it. How did we meet, and how long ago do you think it was?
Over 10 years ago. So it has to be about 10 years now. We met on South Beach. And at the time, my roommate, Alex Smith, the founder of Swoop Miami, for folks who might not be familiar with South Beach, they are free taxis that give people rides up and down the beach, pretty much for gratuity. And the founder, Alex Smith, happened to be my roommate from college, and then also my roommate, as we were working on this company. So, just driving around and meeting people and adding value to companies that wanted to advertise with us, is how we met. And I just could remember, the first conversation we had, I said, man, this might be the most brilliant human being I've ever came across. and plus you love old school hip hop. So I was this guy is so amazing. So yeah.
No doubt. Yeah, because y'all need to understand the Swoops were, they were completely open air vehicles with like no doors, no nothing. Every Swoop driver, would be usually like blasting, whatever their music of choice was. And that's how Omarie and I just started talking about music, et cetera. And as far as me being brilliant, et cetera, you know what they say. I mean, flattery will get you everywhere, brother. So I appreciate that. But let me ask you this, man. Now, you were driving the Swoop, and it probably other than maybe Vegas or LA, probably one of the most interesting towns to do that in the country. Did anything crazy ever happen in the Swoop?
Where do I start? Are you kidding me? It's South Beach. I mean, every single day, man. It's like every day would top the day before.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples. And by the way,
it's just so many for me to like go through my mind. It's almost inconceivable to like pinpoint one. But, I'll tell you this, the amount of like celebrities you would see on a frequent basis, right? Because, because you're driving, you're not like stationary in one like restaurant or bar or like looking through your hotel window or whatever the case may be. Like you're literally driving up and down every street on South Beach, from Alton Road to Ocean Drive to Washington Avenue. So like you would literally encounter like a celebrity just coming out of their car or running into a store to pick something up real quickly. And I never forget when The Rock hopped out of the vehicle. and I saw him like in front of my face, Dwayne Johnson, and just thinking to myself, like, this got to be the most insane experience. Like, and like that's like your welcome to South Beach moment right there.
Right.
Like when you see The Rock, like up close and personal, you see how big he is, the aura, you know, like how people respond in the streets with, you know, their camera phones and everything. It was like the
so
most.
He is that huge in person.
Oh yeah. He's a big human being.
Having lived in Florida and having lived in New York, it's like when people see celebrities in New York, they like kind of go crazy. But like in Miami Beach, you see them so frequently. It's like, it's interesting to see them, but you can get more up close and personal to them because I think Miami's more chill like that. Like I remember like going, remember that place, Pearl, like at Nikki Beach. And then there was like this restaurant, Pearl, upstairs. So Jigga was there one night. Oh, and for folks who don't know, Jigga's Jay-Z. And this is when the Black album came out. And he was like, okay, this might be my last album. I'm going to retire, whatever. And when I heard the Black album, I was like, I don't blame you. This is probably, I don't know if it's greater than Reasonable Doubt, but it's definitely up there. And if you're going to go out on this one, I get it because it's fantastic.
Mic drop, yeah.
Right? And I saw him at Pearl and I just walked up to him and I was just like, yo, Jigga, please don't retire. And then he just like nodded, like whatever. And this is before he was with Beyonce and all this stuff. You see celebrities all the time.
All the time. Yeah. And you definitely can get desensitized just because of the frequency, right? Frequent occurrences. And like I said, for me at the time, you know, just literally up and down, you know, was my job. Up and down the street to meet people, you know, create that energy, you know, allow people to have a great experience being in South Beach. So it all just goes together, right? You know, the celebrities, the parties, the just the vibe, the music, the way people dress. It's like one of the best experiences for people who are visiting, but even for us who work and live on South Beach.
Do you remember Club Bed?
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, so back in the day, I mean, every night of the week had like a different club that was like that night. So Club Bed was on Wednesdays. And so like, I remember I was at Club Bed one night. And for those of y'all that don't know, Club Bed was called Bed for a reason. There were no tables in the club at all. It was all just a dance floor and beds, and people ate dinner in bed, like in the whole place. It was like this true story. Like I'm describing it and it sounds crazy, but that's actually what it was, right? So I was at bed and I was like trying to make my way to the bathroom, and Janet Jackson brushed my arm walking past me. I swear I did not want to. You know, I never get starstruck, but I got crazy starstruck when that happened. I didn't want to wash my arm for a week, bro.
I was about to ask you if you didn't take a shower for 2 days.
I know, man. But yeah, it's crazy. But you know, you didn't. I think you're trying to. I have a feeling you might be trying to dodge the real essence of my question. I'm not talking about celebrities. I'm talking about regular folks, probably tourists, the craziest. In the swoop, doing crazy stuff. Just give me an example.
I mean, for the life of me, Gerard, I can't even go there, bro. I mean, I have seen some things, man, that I'm going to the grave with, bro. I mean, it's honestly, I mean, it's kind of like, I'll tell you, and for me, it has definitely like, it hardened me at the time because you encounter it the first time and you're blown away, and then you just see it over and over. Yeah. So for me, for me, it was like
literally or figuratively. No, I'm just kidding. You're good.
No, well, both.
This is terrible. My producers.
We're definitely going down the wrong path here. But let me tell you, when you talk about spring break and just the essence of human beings, we got a lot of that within all of us. And some things bring it out, and then I just happen to be in a lot of moments where it got brought out and I saw it for what it is. And that's all I could say, to be quite honest. My mom would kill me if I told you the truth over the podcast. Break my back.
No, I hear you, brother. I hear you. All right. I'm going to let you off the hook because you know what? I've seen those things too. I've lived in South Beach for 20 years. I don't know. How long have you been here?
12 years. South Florida, 20, how old am I? Yeah, 23, 24.
Okay. This is the Florida Fresh Mix. And so there's your Florida connection.
South Florida all the way, baby.
My homeboy is bona fide. Bona fide.
Oh, yeah. No pretending. I'm originally from the Virgin Islands.
Mm-hmm.
Left when I was 17 to come to college in Tampa, Florida. So went to University of Tampa. I got my 4-year bachelor's degree in business management there. And then started, doing the typical, go to corporate America, work, corporate jobs, put money in 401k, save a little bit for retirement, that type of approach. And it just, I'm blessed because I learned so much about how to conduct business from a professional standpoint and how to add value in every service that you provide. So the experience of working in corporate America is really what I built my foundation on in terms of how I run my business today. But I've always wanted to kind of just, be on my own and kind of bring my own ideas to life and, see if I could start my own company, if I could add value to my customers, the partnerships that I'm capable of building. So, after, doing a corporate thing for almost 10 years, I decided to go on my own. And here am I, just running my own company each and every day, trying to get better.
So this is why I love doing interviews like this, because I didn't know before about, the business degree, your corporate background. I mean, I know clearly that you're very business minded, which I want to get to in a little bit, but you've kind of closed the circle in my mind about how, the interrelationship between your business savvy, which I'm well aware of, but also how you've taken that and not only incorporated it into your passion for music, but also how you've got business ideas that have nothing to do with music. And so when did you first know that you loved music? And is this something you've always wanted to get into? Give me the musical background here.
Got to give it up to my mom and dad. But, my dad specifically, because I'm a second generation musician, he's a musician as well. So from the moment I can remember being as young as 4 years old, he started, teaching me music, teaching me how to play the steel drums because, I'm from the islands. So it's a very important instrument to the culture, originally from the island of Trinidad. But, we have a lot of different, countries that carry on that art form, especially also in the Virgin Islands and Antigua, which is where my family's from. So, the steel drums was quintessential for me to learn music. It's the closest instrument to the circle of fifths and fourths for those music heads out there, the tenor pan. So for me, music was, ingrained within me from a very early age. I've always had the passion, so I never stopped. Went through elementary, junior high, high school, in all the band classes, even did music in college as well as I was pursuing in conjunction with pursuing my business degree. And then, when I came out, it's just never left. When I came out of college, I still hung around a lot of great musicians, a lot of great performing artists. And I've always just felt like I have a lot to contribute to the art form. So I never gave up on it. And it's still my number one passion today, but equally as important for me is the love of business and the science of business, building relationships, adding value to everyone that you come in contact with. That's really just how I look to bridge the gap. I think a lot of musicians are so creative that they focus on, the music and kind of neglect understanding that business is a very important aspect of the music industry. And many people will tell you it's probably, 90% business and 10% music or whatever, percentage they want to put out there. And I just try to educate as many musicians as possible how to leverage their talent and secure their future, pretty much.
Excellent, excellent. I had no idea that you play the steel drums. Now, we're both from the Caribbean. I'm from Haiti. You're from the Virgin Islands. I've been to Haiti several times. I don't recall anybody playing the steel drums. I don't know a single person that plays the steel drums. Is there like a broad spectrum of how good a steel drum player someone can be? Are there like steel drum players that like blow people away, and then some people that like suck? Like how does that?
I mean,
because to me it just sounds like the same, kind of the same to me. I don't know.
it's like any other instrument, and for us who know music in like the theory of music, oh yeah, it's definitely a real thing. I mean, there are guys and women, men and women out there that are on just different levels. It's not even comparable. But that doesn't take away from, because at the end of the day, music is a creative, approach. So I tend not to be judgmental in terms of like who's better than who, that sort of thing, and ranking people. But in terms of a skill, like any other instrument, and how you play your instrument, how you approach theory on the instrument, we can hear it. Absolutely, we can hear it in terms of the different levels that people are on. And like I said, it's all subjective. Mm-hmm. So I might have someone that I rank as number one, and somebody else might rank that person as number five, whatever mm-hmm. the case may be. But for me personally, absolutely, there are people out there that I look up to, that I revere, and just think like they're the greatest thing to, like, the greatest performer to ever touch the instrument. It's like any other instrument.
I figured that would be your answer. I think it's kind of like anything else. Like, don't get me wrong, I love listening to steel drums. It's like a very cool, melodic, interesting sound. It's fun. I've never seen someone sad playing the steel drums. Never seen someone get depressed listening to steel drums. You know what I mean? Nope. But I think it's like anything else. Like, someone that knows nothing about basketball is going to be like, well, they all look like they're doing the same thing. And they'd be like, nah. Let me show you some Michael Jordan. So you need to promise me that one day I want you to play for me. Put me on to who you think is the best. I want to know who the best
I got some, is. I mean, yeah, for sure.
You put me on to that so I can appreciate. All right.
Man? I got some lists. I got a list here, but I'll tell you something that's going to blow your mind. Oddly enough, we performed at the Super Bowl because of the steel drums.
Mm-hmm.
And I run a successful steel drum band here in Miami called Steel Band Delight. In terms of bookings and some of the partnerships we have, and some of the events that we've done in the past, many people will consider us the very best at what we do and provide as a service. So I'm going to plug this in real quick. You could always visit us at www.steelbanddelight.com. That is steelbanddelight.com. To really see the video, see pictures of some of our past events, see our performance on a Super Bowl stage, pretty much in front of 40 to 50,000 people. So that instrument has taken me to some amazing, places and amazing experiences. So it's just the music in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the steel drums, it just brings out a certain type of vibe, like you said, in people, where you feel like you're in the islands, you're on a cruise ship, you're in Trinidad, you're in Jamaica, you're in Antigua, you're in St. Croix. You just want to sit on a beach with a mojito, margarita, whatever people want to drink, and just mm-hmm. listen to a guy just playing in the background some good Caribbean steel drum music. Can't beat that, bro.
No, I hear you. And tell me more about the Super Bowl. That's a great segue, because I was going to bring this up because you blew my mind when you first told me about this. Which Super Bowl were you involved in, and how did that come about?
Superbowl LIV. So that was in 2020.
Who was playing? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was the San Francisco 49ers against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, and the Chiefs won that one, right?
The Chiefs won that one.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
the Chiefs won that one. That was 2020, right before COVID hit.
Right. Lucky you. So how did you get involved with that, and how was it like mind blowing to you, or was it just another gig for you?
Never. You partner with the NFL, it can never be just another gig. No, right. That opportunity changed so much for our business in the positive direction, because everything in business is really about presentation and validation. Your reputation is everything to your clients, your partners. So when you have that type of event that you can list in your portfolio, mm-hmm. You start working with a different tier of clients.
Yep.
Because they just ask themselves one question. If the NFL can work with this program, then what should prevent us from also working with this program?
Right.
And then they get in contact with myself or anyone on my team, and then they immediately and quickly see why we can solidify relationships like that because of just more than the approach to business in terms of music, but also customer service, presentation, professionalism, the uniforms that we wear, the way we respond to emails, the way we respond to phone calls. It's all part of the culture. And that's the important part of building a program. You have to have a standard operating procedure that really adds value to your client base.
Mm-hmm.
Internal customers and external customers is equally as important. When you have a standard operating procedure that adds value to both.
What's your definition of internal customers?
Internal customers is everyone that you work with that contributes to the final product.
Okay. Yep.
Because without their input, without their contribution, the client doesn't have the service. The client doesn't have the product, at least not at the level that would give them any interest in doing business with you. So I equally focus on how do I add value to all of the internal customers. And that's a word, and maybe we should say partners, because I think that every person, whether it's a person answering the phones or responding to emails or drafting the proposals or, whatever, role they're serving, they're equally partners in terms of really adding value to the overall business. And I treat everybody that way. It's never a matter of, they're employees or, customers is just a word we use when we, say internal and external, but they're really partners. And then external would be, the people that you are providing the service to, selling the product to.
Right.
So they both are equally important.
Right. I'm still curious about how this NFL gig, how'd you come across it? How did this happen?
Yeah, man. So true story. I was at an event and this weird number kept calling, but I was at an event. So I'm like, man, I shouldn't answer this because I hate to answer a call and have like white noise in the background. It's just, to me, it's unprofessional. But then the number called and then it called again. And that typically doesn't happen. Like people will call you and then leave you a voicemail and that's it. And then the number called again. I said, well, this must be really important. I should probably call this person back. And I didn't recognize the number. And then when I called them back, it was actually a representative of the NFL. And they were looking to really capture the essence of Miami in terms of local music, Caribbean music. And they nailed it. Just something about a steel drum band that plays authentic Caribbean reggae music, calypso, soca. It's just something about that really kind of signifies the culture here in Miami because we have such a large Caribbean population. They just saw what we brought to the table in terms of how we presented ourselves, our reviews, which is very instrumental to your business, by the way, all you business owners out there.
Instrumental, no pun intended.
No pun intended. No pun intended. Make sure you get some good reviews.
Yeah. Wow. So that came across kind of out of the blue, but based on you kind of setting yourself up for that with past performance and then also the feedback from those performances and marketing and putting those things out there so that people can see it, like the NFL and whomever else. Had you not put in that work, then that would have never come across your table.
Good observation, because I'll tell you, it was something that was done very intentionally at the very, very beginning of the business venture, where every event we asked the client, how can we get better? Even if we thought we did a great job, we solicited that feedback.
Right.
And what we found is people were just like, hey, you guys were awesome. But we were very intentional in making sure every single event at the very onset, we asked those questions. How can we get better? Was there something we could have done to improve our performance, our presentation, added more value to your event? Because we didn't have the reputation at the time, right? So, it was kind of like we had to create a profile. No matter how talented you are, people want to see something. It was a very concerted effort to really solicit that feedback from every client and have a genuine approach of listening and saying, okay, I hear what the client is saying, whether you agree with it or not, it's their perspective. How do you take it at face value and use it to get better? We spoke the language the NFL spoke. They saw it. They saw the value in terms of what we could bring, and we knew it would change our business by having that shield, that logo, that emblem attached to our brand as well in terms of, that partnership for that Super Bowl Sunday and performing on 2 different stages in front of 50,000 people. I can tell you as a musician being on that stage, I've never been more present in my life.
I didn't realize you yourself were up there. I thought as the big boss, maybe you'd just be standing on the side, just watching from afar. But you were there. You were on.
I had to indulge myself, man. I had to indulge myself. I mean, you dream about stuff like that when you're a musician playing in your garage or in your bedroom. Like you dream about, walking out on stage to a big crowd and feeling that energy. And I can tell you, there is absolutely nothing that can replicate that.
Was it kind of like an out-of-body experience? Was it?
Like
crazy?
I said, I've never been more present in my life.
Oh, okay. It was a totally in-body experience.
Yeah, it's like time stopped, pretty much.
You were playing the steel drums?
I was playing the steel drums, yeah. Yeah, I was playing the steel drums.
Wow. Look, I've never been to I've been to football games, so I've never been to a Super Bowl. How did it compare to particularly being on the field? Like, how did it compare to what you were used to seeing on TV?
Yeah, so we were on the stage that we performed on was not on the field itself. It was actually a stage outside of the stadium because we did the pre-show, the pre-game.
Oh, okay.
And then everyone went in to watch the game. So we kind of kicked off the festivities. But nonetheless, I mean, you have that concentrated area with that amount of people and they're, excited. It's the Super Bowl. Like they flew in from all over the world to come to the biggest spectacle in the world. Right. That's what the Super Bowl represents. The celebrities,
right.
The athletes, the champions, the greatest, sports athletes in the world, like, legends. It's indescribable, as a musician, as a human, just as a person. But, knowing you've worked your life to do what you love and then be celebrated and valued in that moment, I can't describe it, man. It was the best moment in my life.
Wow. And so I actually think that probably worked out better for you because you get to do it before the game, get it out of the way. And then you were just, totally stress-free to actually be present in the game and enjoy the game, knowing that you had just knocked it out and probably, felt like a natural high after all that. I mean, that sounds ideal to me. I mean, rather than like trying to watch the game and be like, okay, I got to perform during halftime. There's going to be, that kind of stress, Do you have this on video anywhere? I mean, I was going to say maybe I could try to find it on YouTube. I don't know if they'd have the pre-performances, but do you have it on video somewhere? Are you in the video?
Yeah, I'm definitely in the video. Steelbanddelight.com.
Oh, word. Okay.
I'm plugging.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No problem. But knowing you rocked it, and I'm going to be like, you know what, man, I can't even front. You killed it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the reality of it is, it's easy for me because I'm also playing with some of the best musicians in the world too. I mean, I'm playing the steel drums, but then you have some of the most incredible musicians, Frank Bird on bass, who used to play with Buju Banton for, 15 plus years. I mean, these guys are legends in their world. Mikey Fanis, the amount of, great artists he's performed with. You name any, headlining Jamaican performer in the reggae world, he's played keyboard on stage with them. Robert Rose.
I used to be crazy about Buju back in the day, man. I've got like 1 million of his albums, like albums you never even heard of. Anything that had Buju Banton, and I bought it without even listening to it. That's how I was a fanatic.
His bass player, Frank Bird, was our bass player for that event. Robert Rose, Keith Padilla, the list, Julian. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, we really had on stage some of the most incredible musicians. And, that's the essence of why we were able to develop the reputation that we developed, because we work with the best. And it's important. And I tell people, you have to empower people around you, because that's how you take any business, any program to the next level, is really empowering people and getting them to bring their best, their very best.
Exactly. Just for clarification, we probably should have done this at the beginning, but what company are you doing all of this under? Do you have different companies, or is this all Earovation LLC?
Yeah, so Earovation is the main hub. Steel Band Delight is one of our DBAs. We do live music, but then we also do music for TV shows as well. Mm-hmm. When we started our relationship many years ago, I don't know if you recall, but you were actually writing a lot of contracts for, or ripping up the contracts for a lot of those music deals that were coming our way at the time. But, we did all the music for the Screen Rant podcast from, I think it was like 2011 to like 2016 or 17. So probably we had a good 6-year run where we did well over 200 episodes of the Screen Rant podcast. So for those who actually know about like Rotten Tomatoes, Screen Rant is kind of like the competitor, the direct competitor to Rotten Tomatoes. And they had an amazing podcast. They have an amazing podcast, but
it's a big deal.
It's a huge big deal. They're very successful, and we had a partnership with them for over 6 years where we did literally all the music, intro, outro, in between commercial segments for all of their podcasts, 200 plus episodes over the 6 years. That's Earovation right there too. So, we do that as well. We do a myriad of other different things, in terms of just educating people about business literacy, and it all kind of falls under Earovation.
2 things I picked up on there right there. First of all, I love the fact that you said that and this is your business sense here, because a lot of people don't get this. You'd be shocked how many people don't get that you can form a DBA, basically unlimited DBAs. So many people assume that if you want to do a separate line of business or something that's similar to your line of business, but a slightly different tint to it or whatever, that you got to form a whole new company. And that misconception is so widespread. And DBA is doing business as, okay? So it's also called a fictional name, and depending on what state you're in. So they're usually very easy to file. And, you get someone like me to help you out and point you in the right direction, or to do it for you. But that's one thing that I just wanted to share with our listeners. Now, only because I know you, I know that there is probably something you can teach our audience about your experience with Screen Rant.
When we originally started that partnership, it was really based on, I don't want to use the word win a favor. I don't like to use that word in doing business, but we got into that program when it was really at its early stages. Mm-hmm. So for us, we didn't really look for any compensation. And I thought, it's, as a musician, I love doing music, and someone wants my music, so Let me just give it away. Not realizing the value that they created over the course of time. And then also just from I don't want to say high level, but just, looking at it at face value, the value your music also plays in terms of a brand image, right? It's no different than any other show in ESPN or your favorite show, Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever. There's a specific intro that comes on every time the show plays. Mm-hmm. That was us for ScreenRant.com podcast. Every show, every episode, the intro music, the outro music, the songs or the instrumentals in between segments, that was us. And we just never really, we didn't get compensated per se, because we didn't really do any type of contract or deal. At the very onset, it was like, hey, a TV show wants our music, why not? And I can tell you, the exposure was great. Maybe I haven't done the best job leveraging the exposure. That's maybe my responsibility, and that falls on me. But at the time, that was kind of what I was thinking, is like, hey, at least I'll get my name out there for something. But sometimes it's hard to go back afterwards, after the fact, and start defining your value. And that's the thing with a lot of musicians, a lot of artists, a lot of business people in general. It's very hard for us to know what our value is if we're not even educated on the industry, or what we represent, what we bring to the table. So it's kind of unfortunate, but it's kind of a learning experience, right? And one of my mentors told me, you're going to make mistakes in this business. Just try to make sure they're not expensive mistakes.
I like that. Do you look back on that experience with regret, or is it kind of like, all right, live and learn? Hindsight is 20/20, and sometimes you don't want to beat yourself up over things like that.
No regret. And
Okay.
I didn't understand why it didn't happen. Right? As a human being, I asked myself the same question. Why don't I feel crazy about this? And only until I got older, I heard someone articulated the very best way that I've been able to explain it to myself. Like, you feel things and sometimes you don't even know why you feel things, right? And I just never really felt like regret about it, because when I heard this phrase, it really hammered home exactly the way I felt. When you have the right intention, good or bad, you can live with the result. And in that relation, in that moment, I had the right intention, So when everything kind of came, to the surface, and I kind of saw the experience from a different perspective, or the partnership, or my value, or whatever the case may be, like I said, at the time, I didn't know why I wasn't bitter. I just felt like, okay, it happens. This is life, or whatever. And plus, it was one of my best friends' colleagues. So for me, it was a relationship that was important, right? I would have never gotten that opportunity if my best friend, Alex, didn't introduce me to the opportunity, right? So for me, it all came from a place of the right intention, everyone involved. I don't even know if the people that were involved knew at the time how far they were going to take that opportunity. They were dedicated as equally as I was in terms of my passion for music and getting my music to sound a certain way for it to actually add value to their show. But I think everyone involved had the right intention. And then only until I got older, I heard someone say, I think it might have been like Andre Iguodala from the Golden State Warriors. I'm big, I got to plug this, but I'm like the biggest Golden State Warriors fan. And that even counts to when they were losing the last couple of years. And then
you're not just a fair weather friend.
No.
I mean, fair weather fan. Yeah.
I mean, I watched every game when they won 15 games, like 2 seasons ago. But anyway, I think Andre Iguodala had said it. He said, when you have the right intentions, good or bad, you can live with the results.
Man,
and
this
I might
is
be
divine.
quoting the wrong person.
But listen, man, I'm going to tell you straight up, and this is real talk. I really appreciate that. So if nothing else, this interview was worth it, just from a selfish perspective, worth it to me, is because you just lifted me up, brother, and you have no idea. And probably the next time we talk face to face, I'll tell you all about it, man. But I really need that. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you so much. So, I like, and the amount of value you've added to me in my life, it's the very least that I can do is have a moment where we can share these thoughts. And yeah, let me tell you, it has worked for me, because in business, you start to form a lot of good relationships. And then sometimes as the business changes, it can impact those relationships. And you have to take on that approach so that everything doesn't become personal, because it's very hard sometimes to separate the two, personal and business. But like I said, if you work with any partnership long enough, those business relationships start becoming personable by default. And then, any business grows. Ideology changes. You move in a different direction. You start incorporating different strategies, different approaches, and everyone might not be on board with that vision. And then when when that change happens, it can definitely impact relationships. And then, depending on, how the person feels, how do you get past that? How do you get past that? And that's what I use as leverage to make sure that I always remind myself that, listen, I have the right intention here and I have to stand firm, right? So if that relationship is severed through the process, I have to just live with the result and move on, because at the end of the day, I had the right intention when I was doing whatever it is at the moment. So I can only tell you, for me personally, it has allowed me to sleep well at night through some really tough decisions.
Speaking of relationships, so if I'm coming to Earovation, I'm coming to Omarie Williams, and I need something, who am I and what do I need from you? What are you going to give me?
Yeah, we are here to add value to your vision. And that can be in a myriad of different things. My whole background started in hospitality because my mom, I know I kind of started talking about my dad, but I equally gave them credit at the very onset. My mom worked in the hotel industry for, I don't know how many decades, but she was very business minded as they get. Brilliant person when it comes to business. And she also would put bands in the hotels. So I've been around this entertainment and hospitality industry, ever since I can remember. And we would see weddings, we would see, private events, birthday parties. And then when I worked in corporate America, we always had corporate parties, corporate functions. So I kind of saw it on that end, what corporations are looking for when they're trying to get all their employees in one place out the office to pretend they like each other. And, how do we create that ambiance? How do we create that environment where they can, celebrate and just get away from work, right? Or celebrate, a sales achievement or a customer service achievement or whatever the case may be. And then when I got on this side, I kind of just merged the two worlds together, right? Where it's okay, how do I add value to this person's vision? They're flying in from Minnesota or they're flying in from New York. They probably have 80% of their workforce have never been to South Florida. How do we create an experience, right, that really is suitable for what their needs are? Because, a corporate party is different than a wedding. A wedding is different than a birthday party. A birthday party is different than a bar mitzvah, whatever the case may be. So, we just look at, really what the client's vision is. And then how can we, do what we do best, but really with the intention of adding value. It typically starts with music, but it's always about consultation. So we can be kind of the expert and be kind of the referral program. So if they need to find a DJ, if they need to find a specific performing artist, if they need to find a magician, a juggler. Fire dancers, yes.
I can't believe that phrase just came out of my mouth, but yeah, no, that's what you do.
We book a lot of fire dancers. Believe it or not, it's a very popular thing here in South Florida. So yeah, we have great partnership with a lot of fire dancers. We present that option to a lot of our clients as part of the entertainment package. And, just a myriad of different things. It could be just us making a referral on a catering service because we've partnered with a specific catering service at a previous event and the guests raved about their food. We exchanged business cards. Now they're in the kind of the book of business, and we reach out to them to kind of see if they can come and add value to the event that we're working on. So it's really a partnership all the way through with everybody we work with.
I know that you've said, and I quote, that you provide consulting in every way you can think of in entertainment. And that's what it sounds like. You're kind of like the concierge of entertainment. Other than at NFL, what other big names have you worked with?
So we've worked with Corona. We've worked with MSC Cruise Lines. We also did kind of like a commercial for ESPN when I think the soccer World Cup. Yeah, so we've had a lot of great partnerships, especially with MSC Cruise Lines. I think that was kind of like a wow factor as well, being able to go on a cruise for 5 days when they brought out one of their new ships and had us be kind of the source of entertainment for that 5-day event. So yeah, we've had, and listen, I don't have the book in front of me, our portfolio, but it's been Bass Pro Shops. We've done many events with them. So there's a lot of different great partnerships we've been able to develop over the years for sure. And the Miami Marlins. I can't forget the Major League team. Yes, the Miami Marlins. Yes, we do their annual, Bahamian Heritage celebration. Gotta definitely plug in the Miami Marlins. Shout out to the Miami Marlins. Shout out to Dwayne and the whole team. Yes, appreciate you guys.
Why am I not being invited to all of your Caribbean shit? Why am I being left out of these parties I clearly want to go to? And my girl is from she's a Latina, Puerto Rican, and Cuban. She's gonna want to come and enjoy too. I expect at least one invitation every quarter. Every quarter
is doable. Every quarter is doable. So yes, let's definitely stick a pin in that. Yes,
I wanted to speak in business terms. Every quarter, I want
every quarter. Yes, that is doable.
All right, yeah, that's a good segue because I know that you're extremely business minded as we've discussed. But let's drill down on this one question I really want to ask you. What is your primary business philosophy?
One word: leverage. Leverage is the key because business is constant energy. It's always in motion and it changes over time. What leverage allows you to do is pivot accordingly, right? If you don't have leverage, you can't move. You can't move according to the trends, changes in the market, changes in, your marketplace, whatever the case may be. I think leverage is the key to any business being able to sustain growth. And there's different ways we can look at leverage in business. We can look at leverage from business credit because your access to capital is key. Being able to take on a new project, being able to take on a new, merger and acquisition, take on a new partnership, whatever the case may be, capital is required, or at least some type of structure is required to get that relationship or that process completed. And that's where leverage comes in. So you leverage your business credit. You can leverage relationships in terms of, certain people in certain industries where you kind of hear about things before everyone hears about them. So you get in front of the opportunity at the onset. People call it, buying in, low and selling high. That kind of mindset. I'm not talking about stocks. I'm just talking about opportunities. Mm-hmm. You could have a really, really good broker that has relationship with a lot of people that are selling, their small businesses because they're either retiring, maybe one of their business partners died and they don't want to run the whole company by themselves. A business being sold doesn't mean it's a bad business. It could be, it's just time for the ownership group to change. And you could have 15 plus years of amazing financials within this organization. And if you have the right leverage, you can take over that business. If you're obviously, interested, so there's just so many different aspects of business, but we always look at what's our leverage point? Because that's going to allow us to move into a different direction and keep accelerating. Because if you don't have the leverage, you have to stop. You have to stop, and that opportunity is in constant motion. It's energy. And sometimes when you're ready to restart or, pick up, that opportunity has already moved on. So that's how we approach business.
That's great. And I love the fact that you clearly distinguish between different interpretations of the word leverage that people have. Some people think it means debt financing. Some people think it means, the leverage you have in a negotiation, but it's all of those things, right? And I would add one more aspect, which I think you touched on, but I would say, always try to leverage yourself. And you and I talked about this, and you gave me a great idea for how to leverage myself last time we met up the other day that I hadn't even thought of, right? I mean, you call me a brilliant guy, but I didn't come up with that idea. So you need to always think about what is my value add that is unique. And it's not just leveraging it to try to get a client. You can leverage it in order to, You could barter that service for a service that you need. You can barter your talent. You can barter your value add to get something that you would otherwise have to pay for. But, somebody needs you and you need them. That's a layup.
The best position you can be in is the middleman or the middle woman, right? Bridging that gap. When you think of Amazon is probably the biggest middleman or middle woman, however we look at it in the world, right? Because they're bridging the gap between the service the client wants and the service those companies provide. They do it in a way through a platform, but most of their products are not their products. And even if it were their products, there's still people working behind the scenes that are bringing that product to the forefront, right? That we'll never get to meet or see them, in the process of doing their incredible work. And I always tell people, like, you have to leverage yourself, as you mentioned, because we just don't have enough time. And that's all it boils down to. All of us as human beings were capable of doing the most incredible thing if we had time. And I say that you could be a musician, the greatest musician now. If you had another 1,000 years, you can then become the best doctor within that time frame. And then you have another 1,000 years, you can become the best race car driver. Another 1,000 years, you can decide you're going to pick up golf and become really good at that because you have time. You're leveraging time to work on your skill. But we don't have that much time to work on 50 different skills at once. And that's really what it boils down to. So when you look at where you are, sometimes it's not about looking in the rearview mirror, but say, listen, I have accumulated 20, 30 years of something. Your subconscious mind always remembers all the information it encountered. So we're smarter than we think we are. You have to look at, for the last 30 years, all of this information that I've accumulated has to count for something. And then it just becomes, how do you leverage that? And that's my mindset typically in terms of how I approach business. I just don't try to do everything. Mm-hmm. I try to delegate to people who are experts in the specific task that I'm trying to get completed. And I bridge that gap. I give them an opportunity. And my mentor told me one time, the way to become wealthy is by making other people rich. You have to be able to give people an opportunity to, whether it's to make money or create a better life for themselves. And there's no better position as a business owner, as an entrepreneur to be in when you are a driving force in creating opportunity for other people.
What you say is very poignant. That's something to think about. I want to end this discussion with the pure discussion of music, because I think that something that's been lost in this conversation is how I called you a musical guru before, and I really meant it. I mean, one thing I think has been lost is how talented you are as a music producer. I basically know nothing about the music business. I just know what I like and what I don't like. But one thing I know for sure is that, damn, you know how to make some music. And I'll just give one example. Am I allowed to say I know it hasn't been released. Am I allowed to say just the name of this song, or else I'll just give the initials?
No, the initials might be fine.
Okay. The reason, yeah, see, that was my lawyer mode because I didn't want to, let the.
We still come in.
There's a method to my madness, Omarie. The reason I even bringing up this song, and you know what song I'm talking about, OTWA, is because I want to be on record in this recording, and I don't care how long it takes. This song is one of my, and I'm not saying this because you're my boy. I'm saying this because it's true, because there's no lying in me. This is one of my favorite songs of all time, particularly that remix that you sent me last time. And it is so happy. It is so timeless. It makes you want to dance. It doesn't matter when you release it. It could be 10 years from now. It doesn't even matter. I mean, I hope it doesn't take that long. But that's what I love about it. And if you listen to this song, if you don't want to dance and it doesn't put a smile on your face, then you've got no soul. That's just my opinion. So you are an extremely talented producer. You know music like it's part of you. So what is the number one thing that you think that starting musicians, artists fail to understand about the music business that they should know right from the jump?
Collaboration. When you look at the greatest records in the history of music, it was born out of collaboration. When you look at Michael Jackson with Quincy Jones, you take Michael as the artist, the singer, the musician, and then you take, Quincy as the executive producer, the music director, and you fuse both of those perspectives, those visions together. You have one of the greatest albums in the history of music, right? And you look at any of your favorite artists, there's an engineer, there is a songwriter, there are musicians in the studio contributing to that work. That unless you are drilling down and going on Wikipedia or reading, the music credits, you'll never know about them. And you know what fascinates me? A simple exercise. Next time you watch your favorite movie, wait for the credits and just see the hundreds of names affiliated with the success of that movie. And I think a lot of artists don't realize that's why it's a business, because every business has a customer service department, or not every, when I say every, I mean businesses have multiple layers. You have your sales department, you have your marketing department, you have your customer service department. And a lot of the chatter now is, let me be independent. And that's fine if you can bring all of those different departments together to the table and equally have the most talented person in all of those departments. That's what you need to be successful. That's why the record labels are able to put music out whenever they want. It's because in every single facet of the business, whether it's accounts payable, accounts receivable, customer service, marketing, sales, they have, the top tier talent running those departments. And that's why you can see an artist sign with a record label in, 9 to 12 months, they have a song on the radio. It's a streamlined process, and it all costs money to have that process streamlined. Now, can you organically build a support group, build a fan base from the ground up? Absolutely. Any business can. But then you have to be strategic when you're going through that process as well, because you can't just build fans and not do anything with them. What value are you adding to your fans? Are you doing shows? Are you building your fan base to then do live performance shows? Or are you selling memorabilia? At the end of the day, no matter how much you love your music, you got to make money, right? You can't just quit your job and say, I'm going to do music because I love it. You won't be able to pay your bills. So we have to really step back and look at business and music as, both equally needing each other. And I just think, musicians, you don't have to go to business school. You don't have to go and work 10 years in corporate America and then decide to put out an album. But it is important for you to have the ability to kind of, see the right people you need to put in your corner, right partnerships you need to form. And I always believe in this. If you enter any relationship thinking, how can I add value to the next person, the person on the other side, usually with the law of reciprocity, you're going to receive value in the process, right? I think too many times we as artists or musicians or just in general, we go into most situations thinking, what are we going to get out of it?
Right.
But if there's a person in the music business that's been working there 25 years that knows so much and can help you, why not ask yourself, how can I try to add value to that person and what they got going on? And you might be surprised how much value they'll turn around and give to you because no one else has ever thought of that approach. There's a lot of amazing people out here that can add value to what we want to accomplish that just want somebody to look at them the same way. Like, how can we add value to you? Instead of always, take and never give. I'm telling you, there's a lot of amazing people out here that will give you so much if you just show them the same, value add. And I would tell musicians and artists in the same breath, when you come into the business, always look at every partnership as how can I add value to this partnership?
I love it. I love it. So that's a great note to leave on. Man, tell me, where can people find you on social media? Do you have any events coming up that you want to plug? Gimme.
We do a lot of private corporate events, so I can't really be plugging people's personal weddings.
Right.
I corporate, like, don't come to our corporate parties. You know, we're definitely looking forward to a lot of upcoming events that we have for the fourth quarter and the first quarter of next year. And then on top of that, right now, we do have a residency at the Blue Dog Cookhouse and Bar.
Mm-hmm.
So we're there, 3 days a week, Wednesday nights from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then Saturday and Sunday brunch from 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. So if you want to, just hang out at a really, really amazing establishment and hear some, live Caribbean music, you can visit Steel Band Delight at the Blue Dog Cookhouse and Bar Wednesday, Saturday, and Sundays at the times that I just referenced. And, we're working on projects. We're still working on all the recording stuff. We're still, bringing the musicians into the studio, and we're working on those records that hopefully, as we continue building the business profile, we can work in collaborations with the labels because we are financially sound as well.
Mm-hmm.
We are putting our skin in the game so they can help us through the process versus, going into any type of negotiation without leverage because you're not spending $1 on your own project. We want to be able to say that when we are confident in a record, we can put our own $250,000 behind it for marketing and radio play and things of that nature. So we're just really building a business profile right now and continuing to do what we do best, which is, put out good music.
Beautiful. That's what's up. And where can people find you on social media, bro? Well,
steelbanddelight.com. So www.steelbanddelight.com if you're looking for Steel Drum Entertainment. And if you want to get my personal page, you can always find me at Omarie, Omarie, B as in Bashiri, Williams, Williams on Instagram. That's my social media page. There's a few pics with my shirt off because, I work out. So, hey, there you go.
You ain't got to brag. You know what?
The six pack is coming out. Right.
Give me 1 year, bro, and we're gonna have a showdown. All right.
The veins popping. You know what I mean? Got some veins popping. Like I was all like right. That. All in veins. Man. Got the veins popping.
Man, listen. From the bottom of my heart, I asked you to do this because I thought you would be a great guest. It's beyond my expectations, and you didn't have to do this, and I really appreciate it. You jumped at the chance to be on my show, and it means so much to me, brother. And let's definitely link up again soon. I really appreciate you, man. I love you.
I love you too, bro. It was a pleasure being here. It was it's a highlight for me, just everything coming full circle, see what you're doing right now with the business, with the podcast. I just know I had to do this. Like, this was important for me. It really was, to be part of the Fresh Mix recording. So, and I know you're going to continue growing this, and I can't wait to see how far you take it because, like I said, and true story, I used to stalk your like credentials and like brag to my mom and like everybody, like, one of my best friends is like one of the biggest attorneys in the country, like, graduated from Yale, so
don't get that wrong. I went to Harvard, Yale. That's
Harvard.
I don't even know what Yale is. All right.
Yeah, Harvard. And no, there was another one too, because you went to two like
I
top
went to
tier
Harvard and I went to Harvard undergrad, Columbia Law School. Yeah.
Yes, Columbia. Yeah. So I used to actually, like go to your LinkedIn page, and this was years ago, and like literally like just scope you out because obviously you wouldn't brag about it yourself. And like when my mom would call me, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to meet like the top lawyer, like when we was putting out some of the music. And she's like, yeah, so you're going to sign a big deal? I'm like, yeah, he's working on a contract right now. You know how we do. My mom is still waiting for me to get famous, I guess. I don't know. It still hasn't happened. So, but it was just, for me personally,
It'll happen.
Just watching your credentials, like behind the scenes, and just being like so inspired by, so inspired by your resume. To this day, every time I see you, it's like the best feeling ever, bro. I appreciate you.
Like as long as you and I remain as close as we are and continue to inspire each other, then the sky's the limit for both of us. How's that?
Yes, and shout out to Harvard. I don't know where I got Yale from.
Yeah, I don't even.
We don't do Yale. We don't.
Is that even a school? I don't even know where that is.
Yeah, we don't do Yale.
Is that a community college? All right. Yeah. All right, brother. I love you, and we'll talk again soon. All right. Take care, man.
Love you too, Gerard. All right. See ya.
Peace. All right, folks. Here we are again. I'm sitting here thinking about, man, there's so many things I could talk about for my fresh take, so many things I pulled from this interview. And I'm probably, instead of pulling out one nugget or two, I'm going to pull out multiple nuggets, but I'm going to try to do it in as succinct a way as possible. Okay. Number one, do not be shy about marketing your accomplishments and marketing yourself. Okay. I made that huge mistake when I first became a solo practitioner. I was underselling myself and not charging what I deserve to charge. And you know what? When you market yourself properly and you know your worth and you pitch your worth, I have never had anyone turn down my fees, ever. And I wish I had learned that earlier. And Omarie highlighted this issue by saying, look, if you know who you are and you know your worth, make sure that you market it properly. He made videos. He has an internet presence. He has a social media presence. So all of these things made it possible because he was marketing his accomplishments and letting the world know what he's capable of. The NFL came to him. He didn't go to NFL. They came to him. And then that opened up so many doors for him. So you never know, if you market yourself properly, who might see something that you put out there in the universe, highlighting your accomplishments. And when you highlight yourself and you market yourself, there's something in the public domain that you can point to and say, like, this is what I produce, then that will justify what you're going to charge people. Another thing that Omarie said to me, which is another nugget of wisdom among many, is when you're dealing with clients, or I'm going to expand it to say, just generally in life, even in personal relationships, you ask, how can I get better? And I think that that's a slightly different question from what did I do wrong? Because he asked that question even after the, Super Bowl or any other event that he knows he knocked it out the park, right? So it's not necessarily what did I do wrong, but how can I get better? Think about excellence as something that you're striving for that's never fully attainable. And I think that resonates not only in business, but also in relationships. Ask your friends, ask your partner, ask your family, whomever, how can I do better? And if you ask that simple question and are willing to take constructive feedback, I guarantee you'll become a better person, and it will also help you in your business life as well. Make sure you know your value. I mean, I really appreciated his honest response and discussion regarding his experience with Screen Rant. And you notice he didn't diss Screen Rant in any kind of way. All the decisions he made, he took ownership of it. But in the future, I bet you he's never going to do that again. Know your value and put it in writing. Ask for what you're worth and put it in writing, which relates directly to what I was saying before. And I'm really trying to impress upon you that know your worth and market yourself properly. But also take the next step. Get it in writing, okay? Because he said that one of his mentors told him, you're going to make mistakes in business, but try to make sure they're not expensive mistakes. Wow, that is so poignant and so true. Take it for someone that's lived it, okay? And then lastly, let's think about something that he said. When you have the right intention, good or bad, you can live with the result. Wow, that's powerful. because sometimes we need to forgive ourselves. We all make mistakes and we beat ourselves up. What's done is done, right? Now, if you need to atone for things that you've done, then you should do that. You should definitely do that. But don't necessarily do it for you. Do it for them. Who did you hurt? And at the end of the day, maybe you shouldn't beat yourself up so bad. Because what were your intentions? If your intentions were good, then, forgive yourself a little bit, So I hope that makes sense. This is so important. I'm going to repeat it verbatim. Okay. When you have the right intention, good or bad, you can live with the result. All right. That is my fresh take. Looking forward to having you guys listen into the next episode of the Fresh Mix podcast. Thanks for listening in. I appreciate you so much. For details and show notes about today's show and our guests, go to freshmixpodcast.com. I'd really love your feedback, both on today's guest and on my fresh take. The Florida Podcast Network has a closed Facebook group exclusively for super fans of their shows. Just search for FPN Insiders on Facebook to leave us comments, get early scoops, contests, and other special treats. Or you can just complain about how Florida has crazy weather, like so many hurricanes. But you know what? I'm actually going to take this time to actually not complain about Florida this year, because we're in the middle of hurricane season and not a single one is hit yet. And at least, unlike earthquakes on the other side of the country, we actually get some warnings. So, you know what? I'm going to leave my complaints to a minimum. But I digress. Be sure to visit all the great shows on the Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at floridapodcastnetwork.com. Keep catching Who's Fresh in the Florida Mix with Florida's Fresh Mix podcast.